Hey, what's up guys, it's your boy KCM What Ifs. Today we are gonna be reading the Sharingan Devil, or what if Naruto had the Sharingan and was a captain of the ANBU. So sit back, relax and enjoy. Kurenai apprehensively looked in his shocked blue eyes, as he simply stared at her. A series of emotions ranging from confusion to shock were passing through his heart, until a few seconds later his years of training as an ANBU kicked in and he easily schooled his features, and now retained a stoic expression on his face. Gently placing the two children in his arms on the ground, he gave them a small apologetic smile. "I'm sorry, you two, I have some work to do," apologized the blonde, but only gained two mischievous smirks in return. "We'll only go if you promise to bring us chocolate later," said Ria smartly, and smirked when even Ken wholeheartedly agreed. He merely sighed while gently ruffling their hair, and gave a satisfied nod. "Fine, but do take a bath. You stink," teased Naruto, and smiled when they poured on the light remark. "Meanie," said Ria cutely. "Not fair," muttered Ken, but quickly ran away with his foster sister when Naruto gave him a pointed look. As soon as the young children were out of sight, his cold, stoic gaze now shifted towards the beautiful woman standing before him. Lazily tucking his hands inside the pockets of his pants, he casually walked towards her. Kurenai anticipatedly waited as he came near her, and gave her a firm glance. "Follow me." That was all he said before walking ahead of her. She tried to ask something but he never stopped, which in turn forced her to fall in line and follow his lead. Out of all possible outcomes, this was perhaps the least expected way in which she expected he would greet her. It was as if he wasn't happy at all on seeing her, his cold, calculative footsteps and cold demeanor further fueling her doubts. But she refrained from making any more assumptions, as her previous ones regarding him and Haku being together were wrong. After silently following his lead for a few minutes, she found herself standing in front of a small lake. He had his back turned towards her as he calmly looked at the serene water in front of them, while his attention was still fixed on her. "Why are you here?" asked Naruto seriously, his stern tone devoid of any feelings. "I dash." Before she could even say something in her defense, his sharp glare silenced her immediately. It still surprised her that despite being younger among them, his eyes were far more fierce and threatening when he wanted to intimidate someone. Unfortunately, that poor soul happened to be her right now. "Are you trying to break my cover? You of all people should know how dangerous this mission is," scolded Naruto harshly. "That was never my intention," confessed Kurenai rapidly, desperately hoping he would not resent her. Yes, her actions were quite dangerous and could put him in trouble. But she just couldn't stay away from him, not after learning the truth which Kakashi had told her. Even now, looking at him, she could feel a strange feeling. He seemed different, his voice lacked the guilt which he seemed to have during their encounter in Wave. This Naruto was more confident, respected himself a lot more and was quite dedicated towards his mission. Just like a true ninja. He sighed tiredly while gently massaging his temple with the help of his right hand. After taking a deep breath, he turned towards her and this time flashed her a welcoming smile. "Regardless, it's good to see you," said Naruto with a warm smile. He moved forward to touch her, but just when his hand was about to reach her he suddenly stopped. Memories of their encounter in Wave came flooding back in his mind, and he clearly remembered that she had not forgiven him. That didn't bode well for their relationship, and since it was still uncertain as to where they stood, he prevented himself from doing anything that would displease her. Much to his surprise, she snaked her arms around his chest before pulling him into a tight, warm hug. He was hesitant at first, but after a few seconds of contemplation and seeing her lack of objection, he slowly raised his own arms and gently embraced her. Kurenai was extremely relieved with his action. At the same time, she couldn't help but see that he was a little taller now and had a short beard on his fair face. At the same time, this warm feeling only reminded Naruto of how much he had sacrificed for Konoha. To think, they had grown so apart that he found himself hesitating in giving her a mere hug. The woman in his arms was the only reason he was still willing to fight, to endure the injustice being done to him. His only dream was to create a gentle world for Kurenai. A place where she could live her life peacefully, and for that he would go to any extent, cross every boundary. "I missed you, Naruto," said Kurenai happily, bringing a smile to his face. "The feeling's mutual," replied Naruto frankly, making her chuckle. After enjoying the sweet embrace for a few minutes, eventually Naruto broke the hug and was now looking in her eyes. A short strand of her hair got in the way, but was gently removed by him. She also seemed to register his new appearance, searching for any signs of illness which Haku had mentioned, but surprisingly he seemed quite healthy, meaning the problem was definitely inside his body. She went forward to claim his lips, but a firm finger was planted between them as Naruto stared in her curious eyes. "Where do we stand, Kurenai?" asked Naruto in a straightforward manner, getting straight to the point. "Is it really important right now? To me it is," was his sharp reply, making her sigh tiredly. Resting her head on his broad chest, she happily nuzzled into the warmth of his skin, and she was grateful that he was giving her time to answer the question, while gently caressing her back. "I've thought a lot about everything that's happened between us, the mess that you have gotten yourself involved in and the things you've done as well," started Kurenai quite seriously. "And what do you feel now?" asked Naruto patiently, even if his heart was beating faster with every second. She chuckled mirthlessly as she tried to say her final answer. It had taken a lot of time and courage on her part, but she was finally ready to say this. "I forgive you." Those simple words, which were barely more than a whisper, removed a huge burden off Naruto's heart. After all, it was one thing to forgive yourself for the shit you've done, but to be forgiven by the person you've hurt was a whole different and much more important matter. And now that his sins were forgiven, he could finally put his past behind and walk towards a different future. "That's my answer. Now you tell me, where do we stand? Should we continue where we left off or?" suggested Kurenai hesitantly. She was unnerved when he broke the hug again and walked a few steps away from her. Judging from the painful expression on his face, made her heart sink further in the sea of darkness. "We can't. It's over," said Naruto bitterly, trying his hardest to sound uncaring and cold. Looking into her shocked eyes, and the pain that came in them was destroying his heart, but this had to be done. It was for her bright future, and for that he was willing to do the right thing. "Why?" Her simple questions, combined with the tears emerging in her eyes, did little to change the cold stare he was giving her. "I don't care about the past. I love you, Naruto, and I want to be by your side no matter what," pleaded Kurenai, as her entire body started shaking. "You're annoying," said Naruto coldly, making her take a step back in shock. Her eyes widened in shock as she tried to say something, but only small gasps escaped from her suddenly choked throat. A mocking smile came on his lips as he looked at her bemusedly. "Sobs, what are you saying?" asked Kurenai in a heartbroken tone. "Just what you heard. I have no interest in carrying on that relationship anymore. This is my answer," said Naruto frankly, as she came forward and grabbed his collar roughly. "Is it because of Haku? Or do you love someone else?" asked Kurenai desperately, hoping to dear God that this was just a bad dream from which she was supposed to wake up. That's none of your business. Though I can't deny that I'm attracted to Haku," said Naruto lecherously, even as her sharp fingers tore apart his collars. "You're joking," replied Kurenai disbelievingly, as one flick of his hands made her lose the grip she had maintained on his collars. Turning around, he simply started walking away from her, even as she tried to outstretch one of her hands to grab him until. "Think what you want, I merely consider you a friend now. Thank you for everything, but it's over, Kurenai," said Naruto harshly. He remained firm even when he heard her collapsing on her knees, as the sounds of her sobs slowly started to increase. Even then he didn't back down and maintained his composure. "You're lying," said a tearful Kurenai, as he glanced at her sympathetically. "Please don't make this harder, Kurenai. You're a shinobi, so act like one. Whatever we had is gone, and the bitter truth is that I don't love you anymore. I'm sorry, said Naruto gently, while using all his force to suppress the passionate biju inside his body that was trying very hard to form a connection. Her tearful ruby eyes looked in his own for any sign of lies, dearly hoping that all of this was just a bad joke or a horrible dream. But after moments of looking into those cold blue eyes, made her realize that all of this was true, that Naruto had finally given up on her. I need to go, said Kurenai sadly, unable to bear the crucifying pain that was arising in her chest. Her heart was going through a series of fluctuating emotions, most of which were quite painful. She couldn't think properly, couldn't speak, couldn't look into his cold eyes anymore. She needed to get away or she might just die from heartbreak. The memories of their past, the love which they had was bombarding her mind, while her eyes were still showing her that all of that was really over. The man she loved was no longer hers anymore. Closing her tearful eyes, she made a hand seal and started sunshine away. And just before she vanished she saw a regretful look appear in his eyes and he said something that shocked her to the core. Kurenai, you must live on. As Naruto walked into the secluded corners of his personal room, he angrily slammed his fist against the strong walls, making a large crack. A few drops of blood escaped from his injured hand, but that pain was nothing in comparison to the pain he was feeling inside his heart. Just for doing the right thing, for making the most painful decision of his life. He didn't have any strength left in him, his willpower disappeared and the stubborn, furious biju inside of him lashed out. What the hell was that, Naruto? Asked Kurama angrily, as the boy wiped the blood from his hand. The right thing, answered Naruto. You moron, she said that she forgave you. Kurenai was willing to forget everything and be by your side yelled the fox, but was silenced when Naruto simply looked at him sadly. It was that very reason that this had to be done. I can't drag her into any further mess, clarified Naruto. She loves you, and still you said Kurama disappointedly. Think what you want, because you can only see the rosy picture. Do you know how much she has been scorned due to her relationship with me? The people of Konoha took out all their anger on her. She received the same treatment which I got all these years until she was made captain of the new force, said Naruto sadly. How do you know this? Asked Kurama silently. I asked Hiruzen to regularly brief me about her. And what I learned broke my heart. Many of her friends and colleagues deserted her. Bitch, whore, slut, these were the derogatory remarks which she suffered daily. She was isolated, bullied and so much more, all because she loved me, said Naruto remorsefully, as a small tear slipped from his eye. But she still loved you, or do you not love her anymore? Asked Kurama a little less aggressively. The people's scorn has decreased ever since her successful campaign as captain during the wave invasion. She is slowly regaining the lost respect and is getting accepted back into the society. Kurenai is gaining her life back as a proud kunoichi of Konoha, and I would be damned if I condemn her to a life of suffering. I'm not like my parents. Call me selfish, but it is for her own good, for her to have a bright future, explained Naruto painfully. You really love her, don't you? Asked Kurama silently. She means everything to me. Kurenai is my greatest strength and my biggest weakness. She is the reason for my desire to keep on fighting, but I can't put her through the same suffering which I endured my entire life. Besides, are you forgetting that we are now in the final phase of this operation? Said Naruto seriously, as Kurama's eyes widened on remembering something. So, that's why. Thought Kurama in shock. Are you planning to kill him during your meeting tomorrow? Asked Kurama worriedly. I wish I could, but in my current state I cannot take that risk. He is a Sannin. Until I have my eye surgery and operation to heal my illness, it would be suicide to even lift a finger on Orochimaru. This meeting could also be a trap with the intention of capturing me. Tomorrow could very well be my last day, said Naruto calmly. Is that why you told her to live on? Be a little optimistic, boy. Encouraged Kurama in vain, as a remorseful smile came on the young boy's face. Face reality, Kurama. Even if I survive tomorrow, I will be entering the enemy's den to fulfill the last part of this operation. And if I somehow survive miraculously, what's to stop Konoha from putting me in the ground? It can very well be a cleanup action to finish off loose ends," stated Naruto darkly, shocking the Biju. "Impossible. They won't do that, you're a soldier dash. An expendable asset, that's what I am. Ninjas have been sacrificed for much less in the past, my own experience en route should make you understand how dark this world is. And if by Kami's grace and unbelievable luck, I am accepted back into the village and the truth of this operation is revealed, I doubt the foolish people would trust me. They'll find a new reason to blame me, to hate me. Since I am a Jinchuriki and more powerful than almost all the ninjas and civilians in Konoha, they can't harm me as I'll simply crush them in retaliation. So in order to get back at me, they'll try to hurt/abuse the people closest to me, and the very first one would be," suggested Naruto. "Kurenai Yuhi. Precisely, the closer she is to me, the more she puts herself in danger from both enemies within and outside the village. You heard her, Kurama. If I had not done this, then I doubt she would even hesitate in defecting from Konoha just to be with me. Despite the sins of Konoha, she is still loyal to the village. It would break her heart, but she would do it for me. Please understand, I didn't betray her. I can never do something like that when I've loved her all my life. If I'm supposed to walk this dark path and meet my inevitable end, then the very least I can do is save her from any more pain. Yes, it will be hard for her now, but with time she will move on and find happiness," explained Naruto in resignation, while walking towards his wardrobe. Watching the selfless boy putting on his clothes for the meeting made the fox extremely sad. The way Naruto had explained the situation with Kurenai had made Kurama accept his judgment. If Orochimaru or the enemies within the village knew that she was here, then it would be a disaster for everyone. But still. "Kurama, you're the only one that I have left. My friend, my comrade, my brother, will you stay by my side till the end?" asked Naruto weakly, his tired voice showing the sadness in his heart as tears freely flowed from his eyes. Biju had never seen his partner so devastated ever since Sai's death. The grief that was flowing through his heart even made the fox sad. At this moment, the boy needed him more than ever. At the same time, Kurama was also being burdened by a lie which he had told Naruto. A sin which the Biju had committed himself. "Naruto, I need to tell Dash." "Kurama, please," begged Naruto desperately, his weak voice losing strength with every passing moment. Kurama tried to say something, but Naruto neither had the strength or heart to face such a truth right now. His heart seemed to be overflown by grief. Right now his emotions were not in control and he could go berserk if such a treachery was made known to him right now. Maybe, Kabuto was bluffing about Rei's part. Itachi had told him that every loose end had been tied up and there were only a selected few people who knew about the cover-up operation, and all of them were Hiruzen's most trusted veteran ANBUs. So, there was no way Orochimaru could know the truth. All of this could merely be a trap to lure Naruto out. Bringing his dead mother back to life may seem like an unbelievable gift, but knowing that you have a daughter would tempt any noble man to find her. "Yes, I will be by your side," promised Kurama faithfully, bringing a very faint smile to the sad boy's face. "Thank you, Naruto, you can run away. Leave all this mess behind and start a new life somewhere, you don't have to suffer anymore," said Kurama helplessly, as the boy wiped off his tears and gave a thankful nod. "Kurama. Naruto, isn't this enough? You've done well so far, but don't be so selfless, think about your happiness for once, it is not a crime, you know," suggested the friendly fox, trying to persuade his friend. "Too many of my friends have died to get me to this point. They're a part of me, for their sake I will end the hatred in this world. With the power I possess, I will change this fucked up world. Till the very end, I will keep on fighting to create a gentle world where Kurenai can live happily. Where my friends and family can be at peace. a world where no shins, sighs, Narutos share the same fate as mine. A world where children like Ria can go to school instead of training to kill people, that is my dream," promised Naruto with determination burning in his eyes. "The one who shall change this world shall be this child." Kurama still remembered Minato's words to Kushina, "Before the damned Hokage sealed him into this boy." In the end, it was turning out exactly like Minato predicted. His son could very well be the one who would change the broken ninja world. Looking into the boy's eyes left little doubt in the fox's mind about his intentions. For better or worse, Naruto was really going to change the world. The fact that he possessed an enormous power within him, and an even stronger will to endure so much pain and hatred, while still moving forward towards his goal. A person willing to sacrifice everything dear to him, for his precious people to be safe and happy while never caring for his own happiness. How could a human be so selfless? Never in his entire existence had he seen such a human. Just what was Naruto? Next day, Kurenai depressingly sat on the bed of her room. Her eyes had turned red from the tears she had shed. Her mind and heart were still trying to accept the shock which Naruto had given her. To sever all ties with her, what was he thinking? She knew Naruto was many things, but he was never an arrogant dick. There had to be some ulterior motive behind his actions. "Kurenai, you must live on." She could have hated him, cursed him, only if she had not heard him say those words while she was halfway through her shunshin. The devastated look in his eyes portrayed an entirely different story than the one he had told her. Did he somehow find out about the treatment given to her by the people of Konoha? That could be a very grave reason for making him do this. For a logical person like Naruto, her safety and happiness would always come before his own happiness. But there was no way he could have known that. He was out in the field totally cut off from Konoha. Unless he had eyes inside the village, Hiruzen. The old Hokage must have been keeping Naruto informed about the status of his loved ones. That could be the only possible way for Naruto to have known this secret. Or all of this could be a mere speculation of her naive heart. Maybe he had really fallen in love with Haku or someone else. Maybe Haku had lied about their relationship. If that was the case, then the girl was an even bigger liar than Naruto. There had to be a reason for all of this. And she had to tell him about Rei. Even if he didn't love her, she would tell him the truth. He deserved that much from her, and she was going to do it. With those thoughts in mind, she got up from her bed and ran out of the room. 1 hour later, Kurenai quickly arrived at the orphanage that was located on the outskirts, secluded from the rest of the world. It had been a long journey and she had gotten here as fast as she could. Naruto was a liar, she was sure of it by now. To think he still cared so much about her well-being, made him love the blonde even more than before. She saw Haku playing with some of the orphans and went straight towards her. "Where is he?" demanded Kurenai instantly, surprising the young girl. Haku looked at her curiously, but looking at the urgency in the older woman's eyes showed that something was wrong. "Akira-san, you just missed him. He went on some new mission," said Haku casually. "Where?" asked Kurenai worriedly, but was disappointed when the girl shrugged her shoulders. "I don't know, he never tells anyone where he's going. But I'm sure he'll be back in a few hours," suggested Haku confidently. "Damn it. Hirakan Bridge." Wild gusts of wind freely flew across the vast forests, while two people could be seen standing on the small bridge. One of them had silky black hair that reached up to his waist, while his predator-like golden eyes were strong enough to make even the strongest warriors fear for their lives. Dressed in plain gray garbs and black pants, he was wearing a purple rope belt which was tied in a large knot behind his back and blue tomo-shaped earrings. A creepy smile could be seen on his pale face, as he looked at the young blonde boy before him. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Naruto-kun." Naruto wearily observed the man standing in front of him. To say he was nervous would be an understatement. Yes, he was an ANBU captain and had performed many dangerous missions, even an S-rank mission. But facing off against a Sannin in his current or any state at all? Yeah, he may be naive. But he was definitely not stupid. His heartbeat was increasing rapidly, while a small bead of sweat rolled down his forehead. His eyes were still locked towards Orochimaru, never blinking, never flinching. He had to project the illusion that he was a badass motherfucker with whom Orochimaru would refrain from fighting, if he faltered even for a second. Then the creepy bastard before him would beat his ass. And that would be uncomfortable. "You're creepy," said Naruto flatly, in response to the earlier greeting and predatory grin which Orochimaru had given him. To his surprise, the man merely smiled, and gave a fake bow of gratitude. "I'll take that as a compliment, dear Naruto-kun," replied Orochimaru with a small chuckle, as Naruto narrowed his eyes. "Speak quickly, I have very little patience," said Naruto coldly, trying to project his best poker face. He had a reputation of killing more than 300 ANBU and stealing a forbidden scroll right from the center of a fucking hidden village. And even if he was nervous as fuck, he had to act like he wasn't even unnerved by standing before this man. "That I can see. Well, tell me, why did you betray Konoha? What is your true goal?" asked Orochimaru seriously, and frowned when the man laughed hysterically. "Laughs? Is this what this meeting is for? Man, you're even more boring than I imagined. But as a gesture of good faith, I'll tell you why. I was bored," said Naruto sadistically, as Kyuubi's face palmed on seeing the boy's antics. There was no way such an answer would be acceptable to Orochimaru. "What the fuck?" This was Kyuubi's first reaction when, instead of calling out the boy on his lie, Orochimaru smiled even more creepily than before. What were these two humans, psychos? "You really are an interesting boy, Naruto-kun," complimented Orochimaru with a certain glee in his voice, as Naruto merely scoffed. "Tell me something which I don't already know." "My turn. What the fuck do you want from me? And what can you offer me in return?" asked Naruto slyly, greed easily visible in his eyes. Something which didn't go unnoticed by Orochimaru. Kurama was simply stunned. Was this really Naruto? It actually reminded him of Yami Naruto that had vanished ever since Sai's death. Either Naruto was a badass actor who could adopt any mask. Or... The fox frantically looked around his cage that was situated inside Naruto's mind, and a new kind of fear ran through his heart when the sound of footsteps echoed in the dark chamber. He was dreaming. "What do you want, and what can you offer me in return?" asked Orochimaru in counter. "I want power, the strength to destroy my enemies. I would not be the weak person that I was in the past, on whom people stomped every day. I want everything," said Naruto seriously. "And what if I give you this power and ask you to destroy Konoha?" asked Orochimaru bluntly, and sharply observed the boy's reaction. It was this moment that would show him what was inside the boy's heart. Was he really the cold, uncaring bastard that he was portraying himself to be? Or, even the Sannin was confused when there was simply no reaction from the boy. He merely remained stoic. "That's it?" asked Naruto disappointedly. "Interesting," thought Orochimaru. The way this boy was behaving was as if he didn't give a rat's ass about anything. "So, will you join me in destroying Konoha?" asked Orochimaru in satisfaction. "Only if your offer is interesting and satisfies my personal interests. All of us are merely selfish humans, so no need to do it out of the goodness of my heart," said Naruto sarcastically. "Fair enough. You certainly are not naive like most people your age. I'll give you 10,000,000 Ryo for your services, and another 15,000,000 for the forbidden scroll that you possess. This is besides my generosity to make you more powerful to fight against your enemies, and to give you your mother back while revealing the truth about your daughter, Rei," said Orochimaru deviously. Sannin was extremely pleased when a shocked look appeared on the boy's face, as his eyes widened in horror. Naruto's mindscape. Kurama froze on hearing the girl's name being said. He was further mortified when Naruto's breathing stopped. Blank flashbacks started appearing in his mind. they were empty right now, but Kurama could very well see where this was headed. He had to stop it right now. "Naruto, don't listen to him," yelled Kurama urgently. No response. The worried Biju called again, but was rewarded with the same response. What the hell was going on? Why was Naruto not listening to him? Yo! A wide-eyed Kurama looked towards the dark areas of the mindscape, as a replica of Naruto emerged from it. He looked the same as the real Naruto, except this one had demonic red eyes. "You!" growled Kurama angrily, and charged ahead. Alas, the Biju was sent sailing away by the iron bars of his cage as the new entity before him laughed hysterically. "Oh, you stupid beast, don't do any more retarded shit. You know, you can't get out of this little cage," chided Dark Naruto, and received the full-blown bloodthirsty glare of the nine-tailed fox. Most humans would have died right there, but this person laughed. "You're messing with him," accused Kurama, making the entity scoff. "Ignorant fool. I am Naruto's subconscious. His inner self, and I am not the one messing with him, he's the one who's calling me," answered Dark Naruto with an arrogant smirk etched across his face. "Impossible. Whatever, you can't deny the truth. And I know what you did." There were hardly any moments in his entire existence which made the giant nine-tailed fox, the strongest Biju of the world, cower in fear. And this was one of them. "Yes, you know what you did. Bad for you, I know it too," said Dark Naruto proudly. "How?" asked a terrified Kyuubi, as Dark Naruto tapped his own forehead. "You can wipe out a person's conscious mind with the help of Mangekyo Sharingan and various other ninja arts. But you can never wipe out his subconscious. It's the most sacred place that stores everything. You can even call it the soul of a human, the ultimate and most dangerous part of a person." "I am that part, Your Highness," explained Dark Naruto, and gave a fake, mocking bow to the Biju. "This can't be happening. You're not real. Naruto banished you on that night," argued the Kyuubi desperately. "Correction, he didn't need me that night. And I'm very much real. The only drawback of being the subconscious is that I have to follow Naruto's wishes, and right now he is calling for me, to know the truth. He's recalling each and every memory," said Dark Naruto smartly. "You think it's that cut and dry? You know what happened and you want to tell him?" asked Kurama incredulously. "Yup. He could snap, he could disappear, he could dash. Don't you get it? I want that to happen. All of you keep on lying to him. Pretend to be his friend, while betraying him at every chance. He's so fucked up that he's becoming a hypocrite and is simply getting caught in the same mess again and again. I'm gonna change that," promised Dark Naruto, determination shining in his cold eyes. "I'll stop you." "You can try, bitch," challenged Dark Naruto, and for the first time, the most powerful Biju found himself to be utterly helpless. "Ray." Orochimaru couldn't help but smirk on seeing the helpless expression on the boy's face. People like Naruto had a great weakness: they desired family above everything else, as only those who had felt the pain of that loneliness could understand the importance of family. Even he had known this pain in the past, as such he could claim he understood this part of the boy's nature. "You don't know who she was," said Orochimaru calmly. "I don't remember," said Naruto slowly. He had heard that name somewhere but just couldn't remember who it was. "Of course, she was among the countless ANBU you killed during your betrayal, when you stole the forbidden scroll," stated Orochimaru seriously, and if previously the boy was shocked, then now he was mortified. "I know." "You're lying," said Naruto desperately. There was no way he would kill his own child. It was simply not possible. A picture was tossed straight towards him, as he shakily caught it. And when the boy looked at it, his eyes widened in horror, as there in front of his eyes was the image of a blonde girl dressed in ANBU uniform. She had the same facial structure, same eyes, same nose, same lips. It was as if she was a bloody clone made from him. My sources inside the village came upon this information when I ordered them to verify whether you killed the ANBU for real. I was not disappointed when this claim was proved. In those documents her death was covered up, her name was changed along with everything. After searching for a few weeks all around Konoha, I was finally able to find out where she was buried. Explained Orochimaru briefly. How do you know this? All of this could just be lies, said Naruto defensively, although his heart was breaking with every proof being presented before him. It's simple. Years ago a commander within the ANBU forces contacted me and asked me to create a super soldier. I was actually given a donor's DNA, blood samples and some other scientific stuff. At that time, I didn't know who they were from, and the source paid quite a heavy fee not to inquire into this further, and simply create this soldier. Explained Orochimaru mysteriously, effectively hiding the parts that it was Danzo and how they had partnered up with each other in the past for mutual interests. Had he known that Danzo was trying to make a clone daughter of Naruto Uzumaki, then instead of giving it to Root he would have kept her, the contract be damned. But at that time, he was on the run and his pursuers were catching up to him and destroying valuable research laboratories in their pursuit. Decades of knowledge was getting destroyed, and he had bitterly agreed to this contract while in return Danzo had not only paid a heavy fee, but also reduced the heat on him to some extent, allowing him to go further into hiding. However, it raised an even more dangerous question: how did a Root super soldier end up under Hiruzen's ANBU army? Granted, he had no contact with Danzo and his organization since the past few years, and those sneaky bastards always stayed hidden. But there was simply no trace of any Root activity. Either Danzo was planning something big, or something else was going on here. He had directed his best spies to find out the truth. It was only a matter of time before this mystery was unveiled. Even ANBU's death has to be documented for record purposes. The ANBU you killed that day was made to follow the same paperwork protocol, and I found her fake records. Everything about her story was altered and she was effectively buried in the abandoned Uchiha clan territory. Her remains can be found here. The moment I looked at her face and at your picture in the bingo book, I discovered the truth, admitted Orochimaru honestly. The Sannin had to admit the cover-up operation was simply ingenious. Hiruzen had gone to great lengths to cover up Rei's Root past and connection to Naruto, but in this process of creating a fake identity he had left an invisible proof of his deception, which Orochimaru had easily caught since he was her creator. After all, no scientist worth their salt could ever forget their own creation. And hiding the girl's body in the abandoned Uchiha clan territory, where nobody ever lived or visited, was also quite smart. Seeing the boy trembling satisfied him immensely. If Naruto was even half the child of Uzumaki Kushina and Minato Namikaze, then right now he would be drowning in a sea of guilt and sorrow. Just like his father. It was quite fascinating to watch humans. The more they progressed, the more they remained the same. No matter how much the boy denied it, he was the offspring of that couple. Everything about him was a mixture of those two. His looks, his behavior, his fighting talent, strong body and chakra. Taking all of these factors into account, and if his prediction was right, then it would be best to leave this area right now. He had dropped the bait, now the target had to approach him. Orochimaru very well knew how brash, hot-headed the people from the Uzumaki clan were. Emotional idiots. That was the term through which he recognized them, and the anger that would erupt in this boy would burn anything that came in his path. And by all means, he didn't want to be the one to face the brunt of the boy's mad rage. He had once seen Kushina going crazy, and let's say it had not ended well for many people. Better to leave the emotionally unstable Jinchuriki alone for now. Now you know the truth. If you wish to join me, then come to this place. Then we shall discuss in detail the terms of our partnership. It's up to you now, Naruto-kun, offered Orochimaru slyly, and tossed a paper slip near the boy's feet in which the location was mentioned. Giving him one last glance, the Sannin vanished from the area with a quick shunshin. Few minutes later, Naruto collapsed on the ground, and clutched his head as a devastating pain started arising inside his head. The more he tried to remember this girl, the more severe the pain would get. It was as if there was this invisible wall that was stopping him. He tried harder. Again. 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 By now the pain had increased to unbearable levels, as if his entire mind was set on fire, while being electrocuted at the same time. And then it suddenly stopped. He slowly opened his eyes and found himself in a blank white plain. Looking around, he came face to face with a very familiar entity that was looking at him sympathetically. The person standing before him walked forward and knelt before him. It was none other than his alter ego, who seemed quite sad on seeing his current state. Remember the truth. The Mangekyo Sharingan was activated in the eyes of Dark Naruto, and the entire plane started displaying flashbacks. Naruto found himself staring at memories of his assault at the root base. Seeing Sai beside him, alive and fighting, made him sad, but he soon replaced that feeling as he wanted to know what the hell was going on. As he continued the massacre, he found his past self explaining the story of Rei's existence, and then it happened. "Stop it, Captain Naruto. How could you, Captain? I looked up to you, I admired you. Danzo-sama told me so many things about you, you were my hero. I'm proud of you, Rei." Flashes of their fight in the root base, their little conversation, and her feelings towards him were revealed to him. The happy and sad memories came back to him with full force, as the Mangekyo of his alter ego showed him the truth. Naruto saw his past self bringing her unconscious form outside the root base, and his talk with the ANBU commander. About how he wanted Hiruzen and Konoha to protect her, to keep her safe. "And remember, the betrayal," said Dark Naruto harshly, and the scene changed again to find his past self sitting beside Itachi having a casual conversation, until the Uchiha's Manjikyu activated. Flashback, few weeks ago. Naruto found himself standing near Kurama's cage. The unconscious form of his past self lay motionless on the floor, completely immobilized due to the genjutsu casted on him. He also found Itachi standing near the cage, looking at the furious nine-tailed fox that was glaring at him. "How dare you, Uchiha?" growled Kurama furiously, and scratched his giant nails at his cage. For his part, Itachi remained stoic without displaying any emotion on his face. "Listen to me, Kyubi. I need your cooperation in wiping out Rei's memories from his mind," said Itachi honestly. "Scoffs over my dead body," replied Kurama harshly, making the older Uchiha sigh. This was going to be a long ordeal. This comes directly from the top. The Hokage does not want to make Naruto any more unstable than he already is, even though you know that he is broken. How will he react when he knows that his only daughter died by his own hands in an accident? Asked Itachi seriously, making the fox flinch. "Even then, this is wrong," said Kurama furiously. "He'll snap, Kyubi. Naruto is not like me, he has too many burdens on his shoulders. Too much emotional trauma. It has not been very long since the Root massacre. He is still recovering from his previous partner's death and still blames himself for that, you have seen it. If he succumbs to his inner darkness," suggested Itachi gravely. He let that threat hang, and waited for the fox to contemplate the consequences. Kurama still remembered how close Naruto's alter ego had arrived in overriding the boy's will, and making him go berserk. If not for Sai's sacrifice, the entire Leaf Village would have been destroyed that day. But Sai was not here anymore, he was buried deep down in a grave. The fox doubted Nono had the power to subdue Naruto, or even bring him back to reality if he snapped. Rei was very important to Naruto, she was the closest person in terms of his blood family. And he cared about her deeply. He's in a critical stage of this mission. If he loses his stability, then everything is over. He'll die, warned Itachi, but dash. Even if he lives somehow, he'll just be a dead man walking. The burden of killing his own blood will haunt him forever, the friend you care so much about will be gone. A miserable life, but you can change all that. Let him forget she ever existed, and everything goes back to normal," offered Itachi stoically. The ferocious fox slammed one of his paws on the steel bars of his cage in frustration, as a tired sigh escaped from his mouth. "Do it." Naruto watched as the procedure of memory destruction was completed by Itachi, while his friend vanished into the darker corners of his cage. And then everything went black. Flashback end. Dark Naruto saw his original trembling on the ground, his hands shaking as his terrified eyes looked at them. The tears in his eyes had dried up, replaced by a horrified look that showed how terrified Naruto was in this current moment. "It was me, it's my fault that Rei died," confessed Naruto in a broken voice. So you finally got it," commented Dark Naruto distastefully. Naruto looked at his other self, the only one who had shown him the truth. The one who remained faithful to him, and revealed such a treachery done to him. "You'll just sit there, blame yourself. And keep on blaming yourself forever, but it won't change anything," said Dark Naruto harshly. Naruto had to avert his eyes, as the person standing before him was spot on with his analysis. After all, he did blame himself for Rei's death for failing to protect her. "You never change, Naruto. It's all your fault," chided Dark Naruto. The alter ego walked around the broken boy and frowned when the person never even looked up to meet his eyes. Was he this much hurt with the revelation? "It's obvious, isn't it? Whose fault is it that things ended up like this? Was it an accident? Fate? Or coincidence?" asked Dark Naruto sternly. He saw the boy's fists clenching tightly, as a few tears fell from his eyes. So, he did get the point. All of this is simply a combination of the mistakes made one after another. "And who was the one who made those mistakes?" questioned the alter ego seriously. Grabbing the boy by his hair roughly, the subconscious form lifted him up to look him straight in the eye. "It was you." Dark Naruto could not help but like the boy's silence. It was for the first time that Naruto didn't have any arguments to counter the accusations laid on him. No sense of high morals, no beliefs, as the world had finally crashed down on him. Every person is responsible for the shit that happens in his life, one way or another. Get this through your thick skull: your life was already a piece of shit due to being a Jinchuriki. But the reason you're in even more shit, which is given the glorious name of Operation Ghost, is because you're the dumbest, ignorant fool ever born in this world. An idiot who never understood the ways of the world and got tricked by people over and over again. Scolded Dark Naruto furiously. "It all started by Konoha tricking you for years, then Hiruzen tricked you by making you loyal to the village. Then Danzo tricked you by creating Rei, getting Shin killed along with the rest of your friends. And the irony is that you unconsciously tricked yourself by agreeing to this mission from where there is no going back. So naive. You didn't even know that there was no light at the end of the line. The only reason you're even dealing with this entire operation, with the Root Massacre, was because Hiruzen fucked up. He let a monster like Danzo run things easily. He didn't stop the civilians who abused you for years and only intervened when things got physical. That Kage failed to kill his own student out of sympathy and emotions, which ultimately led to all of this mess. In the end, you're nothing more than a henchman trying to cover up a foolish old man's mistakes. It's really true, war means old men talking and young men dying," explained Dark Naruto bemusedly. He tapped his index finger a few times on Naruto's forehead, as his broken counterpart just stared at him with dead eyes. His will to live, his beliefs destroyed with one treachery after another. "You think it's better to hurt yourself than to hurt others. You're too good, too selfless. Which is why you're going through all of this. If you had lived for yourself, been a little more conscious about your own dreams, wishes, ambitions instead of being an obedient soldier, then none of this would have happened. Despite being a captain, you chose to be nothing but a pawn," said Dark Naruto disappointedly. The real Naruto simply averted his eyes from the piercing gaze of his counterpart. Every word he said hurt terribly. But he could never deny that all of it was true, Rei's death and this treachery being a live proof of this mess. He was shocked when his subconscious form showed him the horrible treatment given to Gaara the same way. The flashes of Sasuke losing his entire clan due to Konoha and Danzo, and in the end his own lifeless body beside Orochimaru's body signifying the end of Operation Ghost. While the people of Konoha and Fire Nation went on with their lives, he vanished from history. The people close to him were saddened by his death, but that was the end of it. You see? This is the end you have chosen for yourself. Don't dash. Why are you crying? You chose to hurt yourself for people who don't care about your feelings. So nice and wonderful person, you are. But you know, real heroes like you, Shin, Sai, Rei will always be cursed in the world. While people like Danzo, Hiruzen, our parents will be cherished as heroes and worshipped forever. That is the justice of this world. Said Dark Naruto sadly. Naruto's shoulders slumped in defeat due to relentless attacks that made him aware of the true reality. Those words hurt so much, but were so true as well. Ka-chan, Tu-san, why did you leave me alone in this hell? Asked Naruto tearfully, as his alter ego wiped the falling tears off his cheeks. You wish they had chosen you over the fucked up world. But they couldn't or didn't, whatever it may be, it doesn't change that you're all alone now. Said Dark Naruto sympathetically, I wish they had lived for me. Said Naruto sadly, even if it meant destroying Konoha? Asked Dark Naruto seriously. Yes, yelled the devastated boy. Even if it meant letting every person in the village die? Even if it meant that, was Naruto's tearful reply. He was silenced and his subconscious form enveloped him in a warm hug, taking away the never-ending pain that was burning in his heart. And for the first time he felt the pain lessen a little. That is the meaning of life in this world, where you have to devour others. Our parents couldn't do that, and so did you. In order to prove yourself better than them, you did the same thing. But that's not kindness, that's weakness of yours. Can you still continue to be on the side of getting hurt? Asked Dark Naruto seriously. No. Can you allow such injustices and treachery to be done to you again and again? Never. Do you have the strength to stop it? Yes. The alter ego tentatively looked at Naruto for answer, but the boy still had his hair covering his eyes. However, the silence and the determination that was in Naruto's eyes had satisfied him. So, do you accept me? Asked Dark Naruto seriously. No. Dark Naruto coughed up a lot of blood from his mouth, as Naruto stabbed his right hand clearly through the entity's heart. The large hole in Dark Naruto's chest only made him smile, as he started getting absorbed within Naruto himself. He looked at the boy, only to find a soul-terrifying, chilling gaze. I will surpass you, promised Naruto darkly. The alter ego merely smiled as he started to get absorbed within Naruto's body. Putting his hand on the boy's cheeks, he decided to ask a final question before he was absorbed within the boy. So you admit that you were wrong? Asked Dark Naruto silently, and was rewarded with a ferocious glare. I'm not the one who's wrong. What's wrong is this fucked up world, replied Naruto angrily, hatred burning in his eyes. Dark Naruto merely smiled before vanishing from the empty plane. That will do, brother. Kurama had attentively stared as Naruto and his alter ego stood several meters away from his cage. Both the entities were silent and stiff as rocks. It was as if their bodies were here while their souls were in some other mindscape. And then he saw the dark ego vanishing, and Naruto's entire body glowing brightly. Damn it, why did the boy have his back turned towards him? I remember her. The fox took a step back in fear when Naruto's cold, murderous voice echoed through the empty mindscape. A monstrous amount of pressure descended upon the area, as the boy turned to face his partner. His dark Mangekyo Sharingan eyes pierced straight through the fox. I remember everything. I know what you have done, Kurama. I know what you did to me. Kurama stared in horror as the full-blown, soul-terrifying gaze of Naruto's Mangekyo landed on him. The intensity, the ferocity of the gaze sending shivers down the Biju's spine. He didn't feel anger in those eyes, instead it was something far more worse and horrific. Something evil. My friend, my ally, my betrayer. Kurama's heart broke on the last part, as he averted his guilty eyes from the boy. Naruto, let me x-dash. There is no need for that. I'm not interested in anything which you have to say, said Naruto harshly. Gathering the little courage he had left, the fox looked up and saw the same terrifying gaze visible in the boy's eyes. He had seen the same dark gaze in a man decades ago, and he still remembered the man with fear as well as hatred burning in his heart. Judging from the boy's demeanor, he was totally disinterested in hearing any type of explanation, or even confession. The only thing left was accepting the punishment for the sin he committed. I did it for you, my friend, said Kurama silently, as the boy scoffed. You're mistaken, Kyubi. The fox's eyes widened in shock as heard that derogatory title being conferred back on him. It had been years since he was called that name by the boy, from the day they became friends and he told his name to the boy. Never once had Naruto again called him that. We're not friends anymore. All of my friends are dead, said Naruto remorsefully. I'm sorry, Naruto, replied Kurama sadly, but the boy merely shook his head. Don't be, it was I who was wrong. I trusted you and everyone, so I shouldn't be angry over this treachery. The real friends of mine died fighting by my side, saving me, the ones who never lied to me. Their absence in this moment is far more painful than the treachery which you and everyone did to me, said Naruto honestly, further breaking the fox's heart. I never wanted to hurt you, I just dash. Kyubi, I'm not interested in any explanation. It's over, said Naruto finally, voice devoid of any feelings. Then punish me. Naruto looked at the giant fox before him who bowed down before him voluntarily, and looked at him with his large pleading eyes. Punish me, torture me. Take all of your pain out, suggested the fox calmly. No. What? A small part of Kurama's heart was relieved on hearing those words. Maybe there was still some hope left. You did what you felt was right, just like me. The only difference is Kurenai forgave me for my sins, while I have nothing left in my heart in order to give anything to you. But I can never trust you again. Whatever reasons you had, it will never change the fact that your crime is far greater than mine. Participating willingly in destroying every single memory of a child I so much cared about. Rei's death is on my hands. This pain will haunt me till the end of my life. So like I said, it's over. We're done, declared Naruto harshly, terrifying the fox as he understood the grave meaning behind those words. And Naruto, don't do this. You think by yelling at you, physically punishing you, all of this pain inside of me, and the guilt in your heart can go away? That we can start from scratch again? Don't be so naive. You betrayed the one human who trusted you, cared for you, considered you a friend, only to stab him in the back. As I walk through this earth all alone, you will feel the same pain. The greatest pain of loneliness in this jail of yours, said Naruto seriously. What are you doing, Naruto? Asked Kurama worriedly. I was a soldier of Konoha, not a toy which can be used and thrown. All of you repaid my loyalty with betrayal. The people with power think they can get away with anything. What happened here today will change this world forever, and no one can stop it. It's time to change this fucked up world, and this is just the beginning, promised Naruto darkly, his evil voice reminding Kurama of an ancient Uchiha of whom this boy was a descendant. Naruto, listen to me. They wanted a war, and I shall give them one. I will take the fight back to their land, their people, their blood, said Naruto vengefully. You will destroy everything which you fought so hard to protect all this time? Asked Kurama incredulously. I protected a corrupt, evil village which used me callously, always covering an old man's personal failures while bearing all the hatred. They took everything from me, my parents, my childhood, my friends, my life. But it ends now, yelled Naruto furiously, as large waves started rising from the water below them. So you will destroy all of them? Asked Kurama hesitantly, making the boy laugh mirthlessly. You can't see the dreams of the future I have in mind. It's time for a revolution, time to change this fucked up world. If I'm supposed to walk the path of destruction, then I shall become carnage itself," promised Naruto darkly, making the fox glare at him. "I will stop you," growled Kyubi, as Naruto narrowed his eyes dangerously. "Is that so? Then." Kurama was shocked when Naruto's Mangekyo Sharingan spun so quickly that it completely blanked out the Biju. Was this the power he gained by accepting his inner self? Had he accepted who he really was? All that darkness, anger, pain was finally accepted? If that was the case, then it was over. "Naruto Uchiha commands you, henceforth you shall become my slave." At first, the effect didn't happen as the strongest Biju courageously fought against the new power that was invading his will. But with every passing second, it was getting far more powerful and dangerous. He glanced towards Naruto, who was crying tears of blood, literally. That red liquid was freely falling from his eyes. It was so gruesome than any other time he had used those eyes. The boy was using all the power he had, never caring about the consequences, so that was the level of his determination. Amaterasu. Kurama screamed in agony when almost half of his giant body got engulfed in dangerous black flames. The fire burning every single part of his skin mercilessly, the pain was simply unbelievable. And then it happened. Due to being momentarily distracted with the pain, the Biju lost the concentrated willpower which he was using against Naruto's Manjikyu Genjutsu. And one moment of slippery was all the boy needed for victory. "You tricked me." These were Biju's last thoughts before his mind went blank, and the shape of his eyes changed. Naruto collapsed on the ground, panting harshly, bleeding badly from his eyes and coughing blood from his mouth. But his gaze was fixed on the cage as the giant fox that was tightly grasping the steel bars collapsed on its knees. "Yes, Your Majesty," said Kurama devotedly, as the Biju fully kneeled on the ground. He said a few words that would not only change his faith but that of the entire world. "All hail Naruto." Sasuke was aimlessly walking through the Uchiha district. He was simply sending streams of his chakra over the area searching for any kind of presence. Enko had suggested that it was one of the tricks which could be used to locate strayed animals, birds, or even hiding humans. But like every other day, he was only rewarded with the result of a few birds flowing here and there. Shaking his head, he simply sent out one last wave and his eyes widened when he felt a familiar presence near the banks of Naka River, which was a few clicks away from his current position. He knew this chakra, this presence. "It can't be," said a shocked Sasuke, as he quickly ran towards the location. His heartbeat increased rapidly, as his mind tried to accept the information presented before him. What the hell was he doing here on the outskirts of the village? Hopping across rooftops, he quickly started reaching closer and closer, until he reached his destination. And what he saw surprised him completely. There was Naruto kneeling before an unmarked grave, his shoulders slumped in defeat as dried-up tears of blood were visible beneath his eyes and mouth. To put it simply, he looked devastated. Ha 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 ha. Sasuke was shocked when he laughed madly. At first it was low, then it increased until it finally transformed into a full-blown laughter. But this one was not from joy, there was a sea of agony, grief, anger behind it. "And Naruto." His friend's laughter stopped abruptly, and as he looked at him standing a few meters away from him, Naruto was shocked at first. But in less than 3 seconds, the shock vanished and was replaced by emptiness as he stared back at the grave, uncaring of Sasuke's presence near him. The Uchiha heir walked towards his sad friend and looked at the grave, but sadly it was completely blank. He scanned the ground beneath it, and saw a body there with the help of his Sharingan. It was a child, a little girl, and judging from the color of the faint chakra remaining in her corpse and the same color of his friend's, it didn't take Sasuke long to deduce that either she was a member of Naruto's deceased family or something else. "Are you going to try to take me back to the village?" asked Naruto silently, not sure of what his reaction would be when he heard the inevitable yes. No. Naruto seemed visibly surprised by the response from his former teammate. There was something strange in Sasuke's eyes, a feeling which Naruto was starting to understand without exchanging any words between them. Why? I don't care about Konoha, it may burn for all I care. After what they did to you, they deserve it. Naruto, I know about the beast inside of you, said Sasuke sympathetically, as Naruto averted his eyes back to the grave. So, his friend had somehow discovered the harsh truth/burden placed on him. I see. I don't blame you for doing what you did. They had it coming, but you shouldn't be here. It's too risky, advised Sasuke sagely, getting a hesitant nod from his friend. You're right, I did what I did. But what are you planning to do? If you hate Konoha so much, then what are you going to do? Asked Naruto seriously. I have declared my holy war against Konoha and this evil ninja world. Now that certainly attracted Naruto's total attention, as he stared at his friend in shock and admiration. He searched for any kind of deceit or lies, but was surprised when Sasuke showed him the memories of him killing 2 Hyugas in wave. Sasuke, you. I have no love for this village or this world. It's bloody, it's corrupt, it's fucked up. But I will change it, one way or another. Or I'll die trying to change it, promised Sasuke firmly, as Naruto smiled. You too, huh? Asked Naruto calmly, receiving a surprised nod from Sasuke. Sasuke watched as Naruto stood up on his feet and looked him straight in the eye, and the activating of a pair of Mangekyous in those eyes shocked him completely. Deciding not to be defeated, he flashed his own ultimate eyes, surprising Naruto. Is this a joke? Asked Naruto mirthlessly, making Sasuke scoff. I can ask you the same thing. Both boys seemed quite surprised with their eyes, but decided not to ask how they got it. That part was certainly quite painful for every Uchiha. Point taken. So you want to simply destroy this entire fucked up world? Asked Naruto curiously, and chuckled when Sasuke shrugged. Well, most of it, I guess. The 5 great villages are my first target, said Sasuke seriously. He had willingly explained his plans to Naruto as he was the one person on whom Sasuke could count on as an ally. Naruto was not only his best friend, but was also a person who understood him the most in this entire world. Sasuke knew it might have been a mistake in revealing his plan, but he dearly hoped that his friend would join him. Alone, he could only do so much, but with Naruto and his powers, they could truly bring a real change. He saw his blonde friend sighing disappointedly, and looked at him. Follow me. Sasuke found himself standing in the dark hall of the Naka shrine. The light in the silent corridor was quite dim. He looked at Naruto, who was also standing beside him, his friend's eyes fixed on the Uchiha clan's secret tablet. Destroying the 5 great villages will not solve anything. Your intentions are good, but your plan has many flaws, said Naruto flatly. Then what do you suggest, genius? Taunted Sasuke, as his friend merely smirked. Before that, Sasuke, I need to tell you many things about which none of you don't know, things dash. Stop it, Naruto. Huh? Asked Naruto confusedly, and stared at his stoic friend. I don't care what you did or why you did it, the only thing I'm interested in is bringing a revolution. If you are taking part in it, then that's all I need from you, said Sasuke flatly. Why? Aren't you curious? Asked Naruto worriedly, as Sasuke shook his head. Truth only brings more pain and distracts our mind. When I discovered your fate as a Jinchuriki, I couldn't think straight for weeks. So many questions ran through my mind. Why didn't you tell us? What more you concealed from us? So many questions, and ultimately that only served to distract me from my goals. I will ask the truth when I want to know it, and that time won't come until we're way ahead in this revolution. The only thing that matters is the change, and not the reasons for us bringing it. Because no one gives a fuck about our reasons, our pain, isn't that right? Asked Sasuke bemusedly. Still a jerk, I see. Teased Naruto, and you're still the naive idiot. Retorted the dark-haired Uchiha as Naruto smirked. What if I tell you I have a better plan which can truly bring change? Will you serve me then, fight by my side as my most trusted comrade? Asked Naruto seriously, making Sasuke narrow his eyes. Like I said, the only thing that matters is the result. If your plan is more effective for our revolution, then I see no harm in that position, but I won't be your pawn. Even if you're stronger, I won't become your slave. Said Sasuke flatly, getting a firm nod from Naruto. You're the only one who understands that change is necessary, and I would not let you become a slave at any cost. We'll be partners, but before I say my plan there is something which you need to know about it. Explained Naruto hesitantly. Just say it. Naruto simply came forward and whispered a few words inside his friend's ears. Sasuke's eyes visibly widened in shock on hearing Naruto's words. Was he really going to go this far? He had really underestimated his friend's desire to change this world. Naruto, you. Said Sasuke hesitantly. Will you still fight by my side? Asked Naruto frankly, as Sasuke looked at the Uchiha tablet. The Uchiha walked towards that ancient stone and narrowed his eyes at the inscription on the lowermost area. He was quite surprised that Naruto's eyes were able to read them so clearly, even from that distance. Now that he thought about it, this plan also had the same objective of destroying the ninja world. Sasuke's own objectives of crushing the 5 great villages would be fulfilled, and even more than that. The entire world would be changed forever. Do you understand now, Sasuke? With this we can bring real change, a true revolution. Keep in mind that we'll become the enemy of the entire world by doing this. Not only the shinobi world but entire humanity will rise up against us. Do you still think you can do this? Asked Naruto crisply. Still, the two of us are not enough for all of this. Suggested Sasuke honestly, making Naruto smile as his friend was at least considering the offer. I already have a powerful ally on my side, a friend who hates this world. I can also gain a few more allies who would willingly support us. As for the rest, I'll simply bend the people to my will. I'll go all out for this plan. The question is, will you? Demanded Naruto, while Sasuke finished reading the entire information on the ancient tablet. Without further delay, the Uchiha turned around and kneeled before his powerful friend. For this plan to succeed, they'll need a lot of power which Naruto had. I, Sasuke Uchiha, pledge myself to you and our revolution. Promised Sasuke confidently, making Naruto smirk. Did you really have to follow your clan tradition of acknowledging a new leader? Asked Naruto bemusedly. My father was hell-bent on making me learn this. Naruto, you do understand that once we start this, there is no going back. Even for Kurenai. I can't give her any special treatment anymore. This is bigger than you, me, or her. Besides, it will ultimately create a world where she can live peacefully. Fine, I accept your promise. In return, I too pledge myself to this revolution and promise to go to any lengths to accomplish it. You have my word, promised Naruto. Understood. Do you have a name in mind for this revolution? Asked Sasuke curiously. Valkyrie. Sasuke simply arched an eyebrow on the name, but shrugged and accepted it regardless. He was never one for theatrics. That department belonged to his charismatic blonde friend. Shin, Sai, Rei, my rude comrades, I've lost everything. This is the result left now, perhaps it's retribution for my sins. But that is why, I must thank all of you. With this life which you helped prolong, there is still something that I need to do. Indeed, for me there is only this way. Thought Naruto sadly. Who would have thought that the two of us would be doing this? Regardless of Valkyrie, the ancient world can get destroyed now and there can be a genesis to a new world. Said Sasuke proudly, his eyes shifted towards Naruto who had hatred and determination burning in his eyes. His friend simply stepped forward and clenched his fists tightly. My enemy, the shinobi world, in my path down to hell, I shall have you accompany me. The former Root ANBU captain of Konoha casually observed the vast sky beside him. Flying on top of his signature crow summon, Naruto peacefully enjoyed the bright moon shining in the sky. The object literally illuminated the entire sky with its light. It was up so high in the sky, secluded from the world, and yet always guided life on Earth during the darkest hours of night. His situation seemed similar. By accepting his inner self, he was seeing the world with different eyes and a wider perspective. It had made him realize that humanity was heading toward self-destruction at an accelerated rate, and at this speed it won't be long before the world wars fought between different nations would destroy the planet and all life on it. People had become arrogant since they possessed power, and needed to be taught a lesson. A harsh teaching that would send shivers down the souls of humans even 1,000 years from now. If people were comfortable in doing evil things to their fellow humans at such a large scale, then he would show them the full power of evil. The power of kings would make you lonely. He idly remembered his own words which he had said to Gaara, and looking at himself standing all alone proved the point. His power was a curse and a boon simultaneously. Naruto knew very well just what path he had chosen for himself. The ANBU captain knew he was powerful, but to face the wrath of entire humanity would be a challenge which no man had ever faced before. The hatred, malice, curses that would rain down on him would be unimaginable. Sasuke was right, there would be nowhere left to go back to once this plan started, but this had to be done. His parents and deceased friends yearned for the past, the people of the world yearned for the present, while he yearned for a future. A future free of war, hatred, deceit, treachery that plagued his world every day. A future where young children are not taught to kill, a world where children can laugh, play instead of being taught to hate each other. He was not naive, he very well knew his plan would only bring peace for a millennium or two. As humans were never peaceful, and would find new reasons in order to wage wars. But even in that time, new Narutos and Sasukes will rise up. People who would bear the hatred and save humanity from itself, to make people understand how devastating war was. He actually missed the friendly fox which he had silenced with his visual powers. Kurama was a good friend, and even he accepted that the fox was only thinking about his well-being in a twisted way. But because Kurama was a friend, and a person close to his heart, was the reason he had to be silenced forever in the least painful way. The path he had chosen for himself was for him alone, the sin, the evil was his to bear. Kurama would hate him for doing what he did, and that would ultimately lessen the Biju's pain, as he would know that he was forced to follow Naruto's will. That the boy who was his friend had turned evil, and was an enemy of the world. And this would be his final gift of mercy to his friend. Everything was now for Valkyrie. However, it was not going to be an easy task. Facing even one hidden village was a huge challenge. Destroying 5 of them along with the remaining smaller ones and their entire systems was a monumental task. He needed allies, powerful ones at that. Since he had subdued Kurama, the entire chakra of the Biju was now his to use. He was a chakra bomb, combining that with his variant skills. Then he was a one-man army itself, and if he even unleashed half of his clone powers, then it would be enough to level the battlefield for a few minutes. But why do so much hard work and stain your hands, when an even easier way was available? Albeit a lot of shady work had to be done and months of preparation for that plan to be implemented successfully. Fortunately, he had a foundation ready to start his work. Grabbing his former Konoha headband, he looked at it one last time before throwing it down into the forest below him. Taking a deep breath, he closed his eyes. Memories of the past, whether they be good or bad, came back in his heart. His time with Kakashi, his former Konoha 11 group of friends, the happy times with Hiruzen, Konohamaru, Imiko, the training of Root with Shin, Sai, and many other friends and comrades. And most of all, the memories with Kurenai. With one final breath of resignation, he opened his eyes, which now regained their stoic, cold, uncaring gaze. Orphanage. Haku impatiently sat on the perimeter of the orphanage, her sharp eyes searching for the silhouette of a person who had vanished since morning. It was almost more than 24 hours and still there was no sign of Naruto. She was quite annoyed with him. if Kurenai was here in the islands, then why did he go away on some new mission? Or had things gone south between them? The look on Kurenai's face and her dark eyes, at least showed she had cried a lot. Even if she did not like it, this new development raised a little hope in her heart. Living here while looking after the young orphans was all good, but it didn't change the fact that she was a ninja. After Zabuza's death, she had no purpose left. Naruto had given her a temporary goal of caring for the orphans, but it could only go so far. Haku knew what kind of man Zabuza was, and yet she had served him faithfully. Just like him, Naruto was also a criminal, but what he had done for her was far more than anyone had ever done for her during her entire life. She had been thinking about this for weeks, and now only had she arrived at a final decision. Her thought process was abruptly halted when a large crow landed on the ground near her. Before she could even blink, Naruto jumped off it and the summon vanished instantly. He only gave her a quick glance before moving towards his personal chambers in the orphanage. "Nar. Not now." His swift, stern reply surprised her. Judging from his composed yet firm footsteps and stiff attitude, something serious/bad must have happened. It actually reminded her of the shinobi like Naruto which she saw in Wave, and not the kind-hearted boy who looked after the orphans. She saw him performing a familiar hand seal, and 30 shadow clones popped up beside him. The young boy simply gave a few hand signs as the clones divided themselves into 5 teams, each composed of 6 clones. "You all know what to do. Get to work," commanded Naruto. Haku was left speechless by this display of power. Despite being weakened, he could make 30 shadow clones? And watching those clones giving firm salutes, before disappearing in Shunshin made her jaw drop. She really had underestimated his strength. Before she could get out of her stupor, he had already vanished within the closed quarters of his personal chambers. Damn, he worked fast. With Naruto. As soon as he stepped into the room, he sensed the presence of another entity. Analyzing the strange smell, and meek chakra radiating through this person left little doubt in his mind as to who he was. "Get out here, Pakken," said Naruto sternly. The said surprised dog came out from the underneath of his bed. The creature just gave him a lazy stare. Guess even Kakashi's personal summon was like him. "This is from you-know-who," instructed the tracker dog, gaining a nod from the blonde ANBU. "Is that all?" asked Naruto seriously. "Yup. Then our business here is finished. Have a safe journey," replied Naruto curtly, as Pakken merely smirked. As soon as the ninja dog vanished with a puff of smoke, the remaining energy vanished from Naruto's body as he crashed on an armchair. A small trickle of blood escaped from his lips, reminding him of the disease that was still active within him, just another thing that he needed to solve before moving forward. And yet, all he could do or did want to do, stared at the ceiling of his room. He had done quite well in concealing his emotions in front of Sasuke. His mind was still not able to accept that Rei was dead. It was as if his entire world that was hanging by a weak thread was shattered within seconds. The pieces were so broken, that there was nothing left to pick up. Nothing left to go back to. The ninja world was an evil system that encouraged constant warfare, created a world of lies, turned young children into killing machines, and spread more hatred in humanity than any previous system. All these factors had made him arrive at one final conclusion, an ideology which Sasuke shared. It was time to exterminate shinobi and their corrupt world. Even then, one question still plagued his heart: he had cut off his ties with everyone. He had even cast aside his best friend Kurama. Now the only thing left was Kurenai. He knew very well where her loyalties lay. Despite knowing the truth, her heart still beats for Konoha. She would try her very best to make him forgive the village and go back, and he might even do it for her sake. But Shin, Sai, Rei, his root comrades, he could not let their deaths be for nothing. If he ever had a child of his own, which would never become a reality now, he would never wish for that innocent life to come into such an evil world. For years, he had protected this orphanage from Danzo's clutches. One could even say, he was far more loyal to the children here than Konoha itself. And to see those very same children whom he had protected for so long, being forcefully turned into ninjas or get involved into the unstoppable violence of their world was a dream which he never wanted to become a reality. Valkyrie was supposed to make a world where no more Naruto or Sasuke were born. It was all for the children who were the future of humanity, and he would protect them no matter what. Naruto. He was suddenly snapped out of his thoughts when he saw Haku standing at his doorsteps. He wanted to tell her to leave him alone. But somehow, he simply didn't utter a single word, which only made her step inside and arrive beside him. She simply came forward and sat on the right arm of his chair. Both of them still didn't say anything, preferring the silence over any talk until, "What am I to you, Haku?" asked Naruto sharply, surprising her completely. Haku was just about to give a vague answer, when she noticed his eyes on her. Unlike before, this time he looked deadly serious. There was something in that gaze that was compelling her to say the truth and nothing else. "I like you." He simply stared at her curiously while her cheeks blushed red. As far as he was concerned, there was nothing in him that could make him desirable for any woman/girl. Moron, thought the Kyuubi bemusedly. Sure, Naruto had severed their connection, but it didn't stop him from feeling the emotions in the boy's heart. The Biju was pissed beyond words. He was the only one in the world who had a rough guess as to what the boy was planning to do. Who in their right mind would think it was best to unleash the worst apocalypse on the world? And for what? Saving worthless humanity from destroying itself? But then again, all Uchihas were screwed up in the head, with his current container also falling in the same category, and yet Kurama could only sympathize with the path the boy had chosen. If Naruto had made up his mind, then there was nothing the Biju could do. He cared little about humanity, but if he could have one wish, then it would be getting his friend back. Maybe, one day Naruto could forgive him, or at the very least talk to him one last time. And why is that? As far as I can remember, I have a reputation of being a traitor, criminal, butcher, and beast. Now, why in the seven hells would you even have a single feeling for such a man? I was the one who killed Zabuza, didn't I? Asked Naruto curiously, and was intrigued when she rolled her eyes in exasperation. You only see your mistakes, don't you? You're such a pessimist. Chided Haku playfully. I prefer the term realist, replied Naruto coolly. Somehow this little banter was helping him feel a little relaxed. Will you really make me explain this? You know, a girl should not explain such stuff. It should be the other way around, suggested Haku hopefully, making him smirk. My parents weren't around to teach me that. Besides, there is nothing more helpful than the truth. It might hurt you, or make you happy, but you would at least be at peace. I'm not blind, Haku. Your behavior towards me in the past few weeks was not as subtle as you think, explained Naruto cheekily, making her blush even further. Was that obvious? Yup. She seemed a little hesitant, but when he gave her an encouraging nod while flashing one of his bright smiles, it simply broke all the barriers in her heart. Sigh, I served Zabuza-sama for years as his tool. He was my family, but I was not blind. I knew what kind of man he was, but he was there for me when everyone abandoned me. The world may remember him as a missing ninja, a criminal, but for me he would always be the man who saved me, gave me a second chance at life, made me strong, and turned me into what I am today. And for what it's worth, I have no regrets. When I'm with you, I have the same feeling. It's very hard to explain, and I may appear as a fool, but I have fallen in love with you. Naruto, I very well know what you did in the past, but I have also seen what kind of person you are beneath all the lies which you've formed around yourself. The further you try to project yourself as evil, the more I get to see the real you. I know who you are, Naruto, explained Haku patiently. For a few minutes he merely stared at her with a stoic look on his face, until a faint smile crept up on his lips. Her words were perhaps one of the best compliments he had received during his entire life. He would be lying if he didn't find her attractive. She was kind, caring, sharp. Hell, she could even give Kurenai a run for her money in terms of beauty and grace. Haku was like a perfect rival to Kurenai. But I also know you love her, said Haku sadly, not mentioning the unsaid name as a grim look came on Naruto's face. You're right. She was left heartbroken on hearing his acceptance. Taking it as a cue for her exit, she decided to get up. But as if he had read her thoughts, his firm hand was placed on her arm, which instantly prevented her from getting away. But it also doesn't change the fact that we are not together anymore, said Naruto truthfully. If Haku was being honest with her feelings, then the very least he could do was reveal the truth to her. She seemed shocked on hearing those words as her eyes widened. Haku looked in his eyes and found no trace of lies, although he was certainly not happy with the turn of events. Why? Asked Haku sympathetically. She cannot follow the path which I have taken. Even if she could, I don't want that for her. Kurenai won't be Kurenai if I twisted her will for my sake. I loved her for what she is, and what she stood for, no matter how counterproductive it is to my plans. She was my first crush, first love, and in another life she might have been the woman with whom I would have spent my entire life. Hell, even now I so badly wish that it could be possible. But, I have a far larger dream which needs to be fulfilled, no matter the cost. I have always loved her, Haku, and always will till the day I stop breathing. Yet, I can't be together with her anymore, explained Naruto honestly, making the girl beside him sad and happy at the same time. Sad that he still and would forever love Kurenai, and happy that he was really an honest guy who didn't cheat on a girl, or try to manipulate their feelings for his benefit. This is my truth which I will take to my grave, if only for her happiness. Now, can you really have feelings for a guy who could probably never love you the way he loved his first love? Asked Naruto confidently. He was certain that he would have easily destroyed any feelings which she had for him. As a matter of fact, your admittance only made me love you even more, said Haku happily, a faint tear trickling down from her eye. Naruto was left speechless by her words. It was something which his young heart was simply not able to believe. How could someone love a person like him? He certainly didn't deserve such kindness, after all his failures and mistakes. What are you saying, Haku? Asked Naruto in shock. I know and understand that you will never love me or even see me with the same eyes like you did with Kurenai. She's something to you which I can never be in this life. Even then, I want to live a life with no regrets. That's why I want to walk by your side. You're precious to me, and I want to protect you no matter what. You may not love me yet, but I still want to fight for you. I want to make your dream come true. With you I truly feel alive and needed in this dark world. Will you please let me be by your side? Asked Haku politely, with a warm smile arriving on her lips. She was surprised when a faint tear slipped from his eye as he stared at her in disbelief. How can you even promise such a thing after everything I've done? Asked Naruto hesitantly. This girl was. Because I love you. For the first time in his miserable life, Naruto felt something which he never thought he would experience after his actions. Here was someone, a sweet girl who actually loved someone like him. Right there, his respect and feelings for her increased by a great extent. He simply didn't deserve someone like her. Yet, he could see how important he was to her. He was her reason for living, her will to survive in this cruel world, someone who had brought light and happiness in her life, given her a chance to redeem herself. The worst villains in history were heroes at one point of time. You're no different. I can never accept the path you have chosen, Naruto. But it would be a lie if I said that I didn't care about you, even after everything you've done and will do in the near future. Damn it, your reason for changing this world justifies your actions to some extent. Naruto, what is your true goal? What will you achieve with all of this? Is Valkyrie the promised land for which you fought your entire life? Thought Kurama worriedly. Looking at the boy right now reminded Kurama of the man who began this storm 15 years ago. The fox had been around long enough to know a few things about that boy, the one who too rebelled against the system of shinobi. One who fell prey to the dark side just like Naruto. The only difference was that Naruto still retained a part of his humanity. The question was, for how long? Perhaps it was a sign of good luck from Kami that there was someone like Haku who was willing to follow him, and be his light inside the darkness which he had chosen for himself. The Biju was quite unnerved when he heard Sasuke's desire to do whatever it takes to win. That boy was certainly a hardliner, and knowing Naruto's soft spot for that Uchiha, he would have unanimously bowed to Sasuke's demands. But with Haku, Naruto could still be himself, even if only a little. He may perhaps not have any friends left, but with this girl he would not suffer the pain of loneliness again. Her newly rising role in Naruto's life also gave Kurama hope that perhaps one day Naruto could feel the need of his fox friend again. Until then he would wait in the shadows, watching over the boy, hoping his desire to change the world does not come at a high price. Kurama was relieved when a serene smile came on Naruto's face as he flashed one of his brightest smiles to the sweet girl before him, who was now one of his close friends and one who had a not-so-obvious crush/love on him. Haku, thank you. Few hours later. A mad chuckle escaped from Naruto's lips as he read the letter which Kakashi had sent for him. So Princess Karen had finally started having doubts that her master, Danzo, was missing or perhaps dead. She was also in on the rebellion and seizure of power in Konoha, and since she didn't receive any word from a single root operative over these weeks, she would have assumed they had failed and were eliminated. Only one person had the power to stop the rebellion so quickly, and it was him. And Karen knew this. So, he was not only a witness who knew a lot about her dark secrets but was also a shield that was protecting Hiruzen Sarutobi. This offer of pardoning all his crimes in return for selling out Hiruzen seemed quite good, but just like her he too had a personal grudge to settle. The nightmare of his 30 soldiers being killed in Operation Thunderstorm still plagued him till this day, the way Isane and her squad died trying to overthrow Danzo. They were his subordinates, his soldiers who were his responsibility. An eye for an eye. Karen was directly responsible for the death of his subordinates, for her selfish ambitions of killing her own brother and gaining a reason to invade Land of Woods. 30 young children had to die. And if there was something which he hated, was the senseless killing of young children. So, she had finally decided to sink her claws into the affairs of the village. It only further strengthened his resolve to destroy this corrupt world and create a far better system in its place. Since Karen so badly wanted to dominate everything, even his fate, it was time to give her a taste of her own medicine. Her dream was to create an empire, with Fire Country ruling over the entire world. What better way of revenge could be than stealing that dream, while making the bitch pay for her crimes? He would make Danzo's brutal death seem merciful in comparison to what sickly ways he was going to use to torment her before silencing her forever. Activating his Mangekyo, an evil grin crept up on his face. Karen, you truly like playing the devil. Then, it's time to show you what a true devil is. Tsunade was just performing her regular routine of developing the cure, while on the other side of the room Nono seemed to be working on the last stages of the new set of eyes which were meant to be transplanted into Naruto. She had to admit, at first glance the sweet nun didn't seem like a ninja to her. The Senju heir was in for quite a shock, when she discovered that not only was the woman the best medic of Root, but had also worked under Orochimaru for a few years when he was still loyal to the village. To think her ex-teammate was also a part of Root in the past. That explained her mastery in modifications like cloning, genetic mutation, cell growth, organ production, and so much more. That sly Naruto. Not only had he provided a safe haven for the orphan children, but also secured a prodigy like Nono as his backup. While she may not be as good as a healer like Tsunade, her abilities as a scientist were quite formidable. It only proved to her that Naruto always had a backup plan, no matter what. A trait of a good ninja, and one which any ANBU captain worth his salt should have. Is it a good time? She was quite surprised when the person of her thoughts stepped inside the small lab, her gaze shifted to her blonde relative who was dressed in a strange outfit. Instead of wearing his usual ANBU outfit or mission gear, he was wearing a dark black shirt that fully covered his arms. The symbol of the Uchiha clan could be seen embedded on its back. Below he could be seen wearing plain blue-colored pants, and instead of his regular combat boots, there were a pair of sandals. But that was not the surprising part. What intrigued Tsunade was the cloak that he was wearing. To the naked human eye and even to trained ninjas, it may appear as just a plain dark black-colored cloak with high collars. But to a sannin like her, nothing was invisible. As such, she could see the camouflaged swastika symbol implanted on the chest portion of the cloak. On the backside there was a camouflaged design in the form of an eagle which had spread its wings. His large sword was strapped across his waist, ready to be unleashed at a moment's notice. Strangely, he had no pockets for storing any kunai, shuriken, or exploding tags. But he did have strange seals on his wrists. And now came the real surprise. For the first time since she had seen the boy, never once had he taken off his face mask. Now the mysterious object was missing, and was instead replaced by a red-colored scarf that was hanging around his neck loosely while concealing the lower portion of his face right up till the nose. His long silky blonde hair was now freely falling over his face, effectively covering his left eye, while a few loose strands were also falling over the right one. There was no Konoha headband on his forehead or anywhere else. "Naruto?" asked Tsunade in surprise. The said boy merely smirked on seeing the gobsmacked expressions etched across the two ladies' faces. He idly gave himself a short pat on his shoulder for achieving the desired result. He was awesome. "Like the new look?" questioned the smiling ANBU captain. Before Nono could even think of a proper answer, Tsunade beat her to the punch. "Hell yeah. This is way better than those lame ANBU outfits and even more lamer mission gears of yours," exclaimed Tsunade boisterously, which resulted in Naruto face palming hard on the floor. Nono even heard the boy say, they were not lame, just different, which only made her chuckle. Picking himself off the floor, he turned his gaze towards his teacher and longtime accomplice. Due to years of knowing him, Nono didn't need to ask a single question as to why he was here. The clone eye is ready, and the same can be said for the original which you borrowed from Danzo. Do you want to start the operation soon? You will have to rest for a week after that, and you won't be able to open the blindfolds I'll place on you. New eyes after operation can tend to be extremely sensitive, and this pair is quite special. It took me months to prepare them and a lot of money, so I'm not letting you screw up anything. Am I clear?" asked Nono sternly, her voice sounding like a mother scolding her child. In return, Naruto flashed her one of his bright eye smiles. He really seemed quite happy these days. Whether it was real or he was faking it, the action certainly eased Nono and Tsunade's concern for him. Meanwhile, Tsunade could only observe the scene with a pang of guilt/regret, how she wished to have the same kind of connection to Naruto which Nono currently enjoyed. But patience was required. Even if it was not one of her strong traits, she was determined to achieve success. "Fine, fine. But first, I need to settle a little task," said Naruto nonchalantly. "Yeah, like dealing with a pissed-off royal princess and her goons," he added as an afterthought. "You're leaving?" asked Tsunade worriedly, as most of the times he came back quite wounded, and it unnerved her considering his situation. The boy was as reckless as his mother, Kushina. "Not for long. Just a little errand I need to run. If it makes you feel any better, I'm taking Haku with me as my backup," admitted Naruto, earning a sharp stare from Nono and Tsunade suggesting the unsaid reply. "Don't worry, Haku's cool. I trust her. Besides, it will only stop me from doing something reckless." "Yeah, like that would happen," thought Kurama sarcastically. Nono rubbed her temple with the help of her gloved hands, before coming forward and giving her foster son a few light pats on his head. "You'll be the death of me someday, Naruto," said Nono jokingly, but was intrigued when he grabbed her hand and looked at her quite worriedly. "Don't ever say that again." She would have said that it was just a joke, but his voice and the look in his eyes conveyed that he was dead serious. Instead of thinking of it as his paranoid nature, she was happy that he cared about her so much. In return, she simply ruffled his hair, earning a slight groan of displeasure. "Ah, you're so cute, Naruto-chan. Team. No need to be so grumpy, you're such a baby." A light cough interrupted their little banter as both of them sheepishly noticed that there was another person standing in the room. One who did not like to be ignored and was famous for erupting into fits of rage and going on a rampage. Seeing Naruto sporting one of his embarrassed smiles, made him look like an exact copy of Minato to the Senju woman. No matter how much he tried to deny it, the boy had definitely inherited a few traits of his father. His handsome looks and charming smiles being one of them. Oops. Nono merely rolled her eyes on seeing Naruto's childish response, while muttering a silent moron. "The cure's ready and I can start healing you with it. Although it would take a couple of sessions for the virus to be completely neutralized and removed from your system. Naruto, I am not gonna lie, this operation can also kill you. This cure contains the cells of Hashirama Senju in it. Konoha had once tried to implant these cells into its shinobi in order to manifest my deceased grandfather's Mokutan, but it was a complete failure, and most of the people died or were paralyzed, or simply lost their minds," explained Tsunade seriously, as he merely smirked. "It'll work like a charm," said Naruto confidently. "How can you be so sure?" asked Nono curiously. "Because I did some research of my own, and if the information is correct then I am one of the few people in the world who can survive such a fusion. I am related to both Uchiha and Senju, and if it fails then I'm dead either way. We don't have a choice," said Naruto flatly, but Tsunade was stopped when he placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder and gave her an encouraging smile. Damn it, he had to stop doing it. That stuff was so working on her. "You're the best medic and finest kunoichi in the world, I have full faith in your abilities," reassured Naruto happily, making her smile as she gracefully accepted the praise showered on her. It did feel nice to be acknowledged for her skills and appreciated for all the hard work she had put in. She was intrigued when he gave a short glance at Nono, and without another word the woman left the room in order to give them some privacy. That woman was quite smart and understood Naruto easily. "I know I've not been around much, and we haven't talked much. I need to talk to you about something important. Is it okay with you if we can have such a discussion after I return?" asked Naruto politely, which only made Tsunade smile as he was finally taking initiative in building a rapport between them. "Sure, I look forward to it," replied Tsunade happily. Tsunade was surprised when he took out a bottle of sake that he had been hiding within his cloak. Judging from the widening of her eyes and the excited grin coming on her face was enough to show that she liked the newly revealed drink of the gods. "Well, I'm not too much of a drinker so I don't know if it's good or not. But the bartender did say that this was the best brand he had. It's not much, but please accept this as a small gift for everything you've done for me, Tsunade-sama," said Naruto gratefully. Never in his entire life had he seen a woman who was so excited to see an alcoholic drink, and Tsunade accepted his gift quite eagerly. She was staring at the bottle for an entire minute, like it was made of pure gold, which only made him chuckle. His laugh only reminded her that he was there too. Oh, where were her manners? But was it good to offer Naruto a drink when he was merely 15 foot? Fuck it, he was a ANBU captain. No worry over getting drunk a little, it'll only relieve some of his stress. Although Naruto had easily read her thoughts from the expressions on her face, and decided to explain something. "We'll have a drink when we have successfully completed my surgery. This bottle is only for you. I have a spare for our little celebration later," explained Naruto calmly. "You know, you're as charming as your father." Tsuanda cursed herself when she saw the happy expression instantly vanishing from his eyes and was replaced by a stoic gaze. She could literally feel the air in the lab turning cold. The pressure in the room rose, reminding her that she may be a Sannin but Naruto was also an S-rank ninja. A dangerous one at that. And she had just pressed a sensitive issue. "Way to go, Tsunade," cursed the blonde Sannin. "I'll see you later." With his swift, cool answer he quickly exited from the room, leaving behind a frustrated Tsunade, who was quite furious at herself. Outside the room, Haku was currently leaning against the wall, and had heard the entire conversation. She was also wearing the same uniform as Naruto, so gathering these supplies was the reason he had sent his shadow clones yesterday all over the island, while also getting a gift for Tsunade. He was so caring about others that were close to his heart, which only reminded her how much she loved him. She could clearly see in his eyes that things like love and affections were far from his primary goals. He was living for his dream, and she intended to make it a reality. No matter what it was, that was her only goal now. You ready? The ice user was brought out of her thoughts when she saw Naruto standing beside her, a serious expression visible in his eyes. Yeah, let's get this over with, said Haku casually, as he raised one of his eyebrows. You do know we're getting into something dangerous, right? Asked Naruto doubtfully, but she simply rolled her eyes. I've been a missing ninja for a far longer time than you. I know how this works, answered the girl flatly. He merely stared at her for a few seconds before giving an affirmative nod. Without another word he started walking towards the exit of the orphanage while she followed behind him. Naruto, what is the reason behind this new uniform of ours? This thing's draining my chakra, said Haku seriously, as she pointed her finger at the swastika symbol on her cloak. These are custom-made cloaks, and they're not draining your chakra. Rather, they are storing it. It's not just a symbol but a hidden seal that stores chakra. One of the biggest drawbacks during long-drawn battles is when a ninja runs out of their chakra. If that happens, this seal will replenish your supplies back to its full capacity. But you have to regularly feed your chakra to keep it full and working, explained Naruto briefly, as she stared at her new uniform in an entirely different manner. But it also raised another question. Where did you get this? The black market is a very resourceful place if you have the right contacts and ample amounts of money, both of which I possess. These sure didn't come cheap, so look after it carefully. Any more questions? Asked Naruto patiently, as she blushed a little on being treated like a little girl, but didn't say anything as he was simply answering her questions and advising her to value the new tools given to her. Reaching outside, he stopped in the open field before performing a series of hand seals at a speed which was far faster than Haku's very own. When he was finished, he slammed his hand on the ground, and there was a large puff of smoke, after which a large crow appeared in front of them. Let's roll. 4 hours later, near Kaminajima Pass. As I thought. Haku didn't understand why he said that. Both of them were currently seated atop the summoned crow and were flying at least a few hundred feet high in the air. Naruto had clasped both of his hands together and seemed to be concentrating profusely. Was he a censor as well? Haku, it seems Fire Nation is hell-bent on finishing me off. There are at least 400 to 500 enemy forces down there. More than half of them are ninjas, while the rest seem to have strong energy in them, stated Naruto cryptically. But weren't you supposed to make a deal with some princess which can allow you to go back to Konoha? Asked Haku curiously. He had barely explained a few points of this mission and that was it. She didn't feel the need to know more when he said that it could prove to be too dangerous for her if she knew more than necessary. The only thing she was concerned with was his safety, that's all. I can't sense Karen's presence anywhere. She's not here. Instead, she seems to have sent a large force of some of her best men to silence me forever, said Naruto bemusedly. It was just as he predicted. Naruto, from what I know, the princess is a warrior who leads her forces in every battle. She will be nearby. These soldiers/ninjas are merely for her protection. You do have a fearsome reputation as an S-rank ninja, chipped Haku playfully. You do have a point, but Karen knows better than to engage me in combat directly. I'll kick her royal ass before she can even blink, but it should not make us underestimate the large force beneath us, advised Naruto sagely. It was first rule of a mission that scouting out the enemy and their stronghold was a vital point that could prove detrimental to the success of the mission. He may not affiliate himself with Konoha, but the training he received as an ANBU of that village was certainly proving quite helpful in the current situation. "What do you want to do?" asked Haku devotedly. "The Fire Nation and the royal family have become arrogant with their power." "It's time to send a message," said Naruto coldly, voice devoid of any sympathy or emotion at all. "Can we even take on such a large force by just ourselves?" asked Haku doubtfully. She was strong, but the enemy was simply far greater in strength. Her breathing suddenly stopped when she saw the Sharingan activating in his eyes, the three Tomo Dojutsu sending shivers down her soul. He was an Uchiha. "I believe this should quell most of your doubts," said Naruto calmly. "You're an Uchiha?" asked Haku with a little fear in her voice. The said clan was quite famous in Kirigakure. Even Zabuza had warned her to be wary of people from this clan who were said to be masters of the strongest dojutsu of the world. It also explained how Naruto was able to take on so many ANBU when he defected from Konoha. His chilling gaze was still fixed on her, and he leaked some pressure in order to get her back to her senses. Dropping out of her shock, she looked at him in a new light. "You said you wanted to follow me, this is the chance I'm offering. Or you can back out and I'll handle this," said Naruto seriously. "No, I'll do it. I am just," said Haku hesitantly, not finding the proper words to describe her state of mind. "Understood, we can talk about this later if you want. Wait for the opening I'll provide, you'll know what to do right there," ordered Naruto. "Hi." With one last nod, he surprisingly jumped off the bird. Haku quickly looked down in fear only to see him freely falling towards the ground. Falling from such a height would kill him. What the hell was he thinking? She lowered the crow a little and was further surprised when he simply slid across a tree trunk when he reached the ground, and with one flip he was back in the open field that was Kaminojima Pass. And not a second later, he was surrounded by a large force of 500 enemy soldiers. "What the hell are you, Naruto?" thought Haku in fear. With Naruto, the hundreds of soldiers that were currently surrounding him were all glaring at him murderously. Their eyes filled with hatred and venom, so they were quite motivated. They were further infuriated when Naruto merely chuckled a bit. "So, I guess your coward princess wet her panties," commented the Uchiha distastefully. Several of them tightly gripped their weapons on his aggressive remark. Some of them were even about to retort back at him when their eyes landed on his Sharingan. Right then, he unleashed a massive amount of killing intent that made many of the enemy soldiers take a step back in fear. Naruto closed his eyes for one last time, resigning to his fate as this was the moment that would change the world forever. For Valkyrie. He saw a bulky commander dressed in samurai armor ordering his men to charge towards him. Several ninjas and royal guards jumped right on top of him but were surprised when he simply vanished in a flock of crows. "Where is he? Check your corners." A low whistle interrupted the baffled soldiers and they saw Naruto appearing high in the sky. How he managed to reach that position was another question that plagued their minds. But it was already too late by the time they looked up. The reason was the several senbon which Naruto had fired towards them at a rapid pace, while also performing a series of hand seals. Senbon Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Senbon Shadow Clone Technique. The several senbon heading towards the enemy forces now multiplied into hundreds of replicas. Those who were fast enough were able to block a few projectiles, but the sheer number of senbon was simply too much for any normal ninja or soldiers to block at such a rapid pace. Alas! The remaining force that was anxiously waiting on the sidelines saw their entire vanguard unit of 70 soldiers get hit in various chakra points. And like flies the men started dropping on the ground. The enemy commander grit his teeth in anger, and made a signal. Archers. 2 entire squads of the royal army's archers stepped forward and marked their weapons at Naruto, who was now falling back towards the ground. Fire. Naruto's Sharingan spotted quite a lot of deadly arrows flying straight towards him. The amount of speed and precision of this attack was quite formidable. Just when the projectiles were about to hit his body, he performed another hand seal. Kawarimi no Jutsu, Substitution Technique. Quickly replacing his body with a large chunk of wood, he evaded the projectiles. In mid-flight he saw a few sensors pointing the enemy force at his location, and saw a rather large platoon heading towards him. Unsealing a series of smoke bombs from his hidden pocket within his cloak, he quickly threw them in his defense. The huge explosion of smoke did well in stopping the enemy's charge towards his position. Using the momentary advantage, he rapidly sunshine into the thick wooden forest area. Taking refuge on top of a large tree branch, he carefully observed their movements. It wouldn't be long before the enemy sensors pinpointed his location, and he would rather prefer not to use his Mangekyo and other large destructive powers. He had an ulterior motive which had to be fulfilled from this battle. Even the 70-something enemy whom he had hit were not dead but simply knocked out cold. When facing overwhelming enemy force, diversion tactics and stalling are the best options. Thought Naruto tactfully. With a plan forming in his mind, he crossed his fingers and created 7 shadow clones. All of whom shared the same look as him, and knew the plan which he had formed in order to deal with the enemy force. It was vital that he prevented the ninjas from using any kind of ninjutsu, or more dangerous taijutsu. His skills in physical combat had surely improved, but against a fully trained taijutsu specialist, he could be facing quite a problem. If not for his Sharingan advantage, he would probably never pass the root trials due to his low skill in that art. But he did make up for this deficiency with his ninjutsu, genjutsu, and kenjutsu skills. He saw his clones getting into their respective positions, sharing one last confirmation nod. All of them, including the original Naruto, performed the same set of hand seals. Suitun, Suidan no Jutsu, water release, water bullet technique. The royal army suddenly found themselves targeted by hundreds of sharp water bullets that were heading towards them. Reacting quickly to the incoming attack, the ninjas in the force instantly stepped forward and slammed their hands on the ground. Doton Doryuhiki, earth release, mud wall jutsu. A large wall was formed in their defense which easily blocked the water bullets. A smirk came on the enemy commander's face when he saw 7 replicas of Naruto flying towards the earthen wall. Tetsuda formation, barked the enemy commander. His soldiers quickly jumped on top of the earth wall, and with great precision launched a volley of spears, arrows, kunai, and shuriken straight towards the clone squad. The enemy was quite surprised when a smirk appeared on the faces of the clones. Bunshin Daibakuha, clone great explosion. Unanimously the clones blew themselves up, creating a large explosion, generating a powerful shock wave which not only sent the weapons heading towards them in different directions, but also made the enemy soldiers who had fired them and were standing on top of the earth wall crashing towards the ground. The sound of chirping birds echoed across the entire area, and from midst the smoke screen created by the explosion emerged the real Naruto, hands glowing with a strange electricity as he smashed his lethal attack straight through the earthen wall, shattering a large portion of it to pieces. The shocked enemy forces, who had yet to recover from the impact of the explosion and its successive shock wave, found themselves facing the real Naruto. A few soldiers tried to move in order to stop the blonde devil, but he had already waved his electrified right hand in the air. Chidori Senbon. With the help of his precise Sharingan, Naruto fired hundreds of electrified Senbon-type attacks over the entire front line of the enemy force. Due to being in close range, many of the ninjas were directly hit by the attacks in their chakra points, making them collapse on the ground. The few who did manage to use their weapons as shields against his new version of Chidori were in for quite a shock when his attack tore apart those weapons before hitting vital chakra points. Not giving them a chance to launch a counterattack, he quickly made a handstand with the entire weight of his body lying on his right hand, while the left hand freely flowed in the air. I bet you haven't faced shock combat in your lives. Too bad for you, thought Naruto deviously. Chidori Nagashi, Chidori current. In a radius of 700 meters in every direction, sharp electric current lit up the already wet soil, acting as its conductor. The enemy commander now understood why he had fired those water bullets at them. He and a few sharp warriors saw what Naruto was about to do and jumped high in the air. They were proven right when the rest of their comrades were jolted with electric bolts that lit up the designated area. The people caught in the attack first went completely stiff while yelling in pain, sustaining the attack for a duration of 10 seconds. Naruto then stopped channeling his chakra, and instantly the shocked enemy troops were now dropping like flies, unconscious on the ground. Kakashi was in for quite a surprise the next time he saw his signature move being advanced in such ways. As he shifted back into his stance of standing straight on the ground, while the unconscious forms of nearly 250 soldiers were littered across the entire area. The remaining forces of Karen's royal army now had a little fear in their eyes, as they saw the lone man who had single-handedly taken out half of their force, in a matter of minutes. They had learnt a hard lesson today, that sheer numbers would never work against someone like him. Instead of engaging them head-on in direct combat, the blonde shinobi had engaged in diversion and shock combat. The enemy commander was a tall man, having a large mustache. His dark brown hair was tied in a long ponytail. His large form combined with his samurai armor was enough to intimidate many warriors, but even he felt himself losing a little confidence when facing someone like this boy. He has effectively stopped us from using any ninjutsu against him. The entire area is now filled with the unconscious forms of my soldiers. If we attack with large, destructive attacks, my unconscious men will get caught in the crossfire. I barely have any genjutsu users left. We can only engage him in close-quarter combat. Let's hope our overwhelming numbers would allow us a momentary advantage. Though the enemy commander tactfully, his soldiers stiffened when they saw Naruto performing a set of hand seals. They prepared to defend themselves but were surprised when he simply smirked. Suetun, Mizurappa, water style, violent water wave. Converting the already moisturized air of the area, Naruto created a giant tidal wave of water. But instead of firing it at the enemy forces, he shifted his aim and fired it high in the air like a rising fountain. The attack simply rose higher and higher in the air, and just as he predicted, the enemy had seized this slight advantage by considering he misfired the jutsu, and were now charging towards him. Only if they knew that it was over. With Haku. The former Kiri ninja could only stare in disbelief as she saw Naruto fighting against his opponents. A new fear also rose in her heart when she saw what Naruto was truly made up of. She knew he was strong, but his sheer intelligence was equal in terms of an ANBU captain or even higher. Instead of relying on brute force, he fought smartly with quite brilliant tactics. Now she understood how Zabuza got defeated. She doubted he had even used more than 5% of his power, and this was his abilities while being weakened? So, he really could back up his status as an S-rank ninja, after all. You'll know what to do when the time is right. Haku remembered his words, and seeing the rising fountain in the sky, was her cue to step in and finish the fight. Performing a rapid series of hand seals, she started using the newly formed water which Naruto had unleashed in the sky. Sensatsu Susho, 1,000 flying water needles of death. The accumulated wave of water was converted into hundreds of ice needles, as Haku directed her hands downwards. Instantly the ice needles rained down on the unaware enemy soldiers. At first they started blocking them with their weapons, but Naruto had provided her ample amount of water to create at least 700 ice needles. And with the speed of their attack simply didn't leave any chance for the enemy. Before they could even reach within 20 feet of Naruto, the remaining members of the royal army were taken down. She had not wounded them lethally, but enough to make them bleed. They were completely incapacitated, signifying the end of the fight. Even the enemy commander was hit by several senbon and was bleeding on the ground, as Naruto walked towards him. She lowered the crow towards the ground, which was now entirely covered with the unconscious and wounded forms of the enemy soldiers. With Naruto, the victorious ANBU captain, currently towered over his defeated foe, his stoic gaze fixed on the enemy commander who was glaring daggers at him. If looks could kill, then Naruto would have been reduced to ashes. Alas, the man had no strength left in his injured body to back up his lust for vengeance. Naruto, you will pay for your crimes, **, against Our great nation, said the enemy commander bitterly, and who shall render this divine judgment on me? Asked Naruto sarcastically. If only the fool beneath him knew how much he had served that nation, only to be betrayed at every turn. Her Highness will lay you to waste, promised the bleeding man, as Naruto smiled. I don't see her anywhere, she left you to die. I bet she has watched this battle from afar, sitting in her comfortable chambers. All of you were just pawns who were used to gauge my abilities. The real attack of Karen will come very soon, said Naruto deviously, but the man simply smiled victoriously. Then our sacrifice won't be in vain. Enough, now kill us, I'll see you in hell, retorted the defeated man, only to find the shape of Naruto's Sharingan changing. Then let me give you a present. The royal commander came face to face with the Mangekyo Sharingan, and in that moment he understood what Naruto's true goal was from the very beginning. Blast it, you never intended to kill us from the very beginning, but rather dash. Yami no Sekai no Jutsu, World of Darkness. Haku, who had watched the entire conversation from afar, was amazed when all resistance vanished from the man's eyes. You are to serve me till the end of your life, commanded Naruto, and remained impassive when the entranced man bowed his head at Naruto's feet. Command me as you wish, Naruto-sama, replied the enemy commander devotedly. A soldier who once was a loyal warrior of Fire Nation was now the ultimate supporter of the blonde devil standing above him. Haku could only stare as he moved on to the next soldier, then the next, and again and again. He was doing the same thing to every defeated soldier, effectively converting them into his pawns. Sure, they had tried to kill him, but seeing him do this also showed her that he had a dark side too. One that had far greater ambitions than she had imagined. At first she had thought that he simply wanted revenge against Konoha, but his actions tonight had shown her that Naruto had a more greater dream than simply destroying a village which had wronged him. And this was just the beginning of his crusade. And that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time. Later.